Hey guys, it's Wayne Santos, one of the editors over here at CGM, and for this week's Sound Off, the topic is actually this poor unfortunate soul over here, Activision / Bungie's Destiny. I would like to talk about this because I think that there's something very interesting going on here. It's like, okay, so the game was hyped beyond belief, it's out now. The critics are slowly starting to weigh in because they got, late game releases, so nobody was really actually able to properly review the game until about a week after it came out. And the verdict has been surprisingly mixed so far. I believe at the time of this, video anyway, the last time I checked, the Metacritic average for this game is sitting at like 76, 77, which is like one of the lowest rated games in the history of Bungie and Metacritic. So obviously this was not the gigantic universal hit that everybody was expecting it to be, which is really, really odd because there's kind of a topsy-turvy sort of story to how the hype for this game started. It's like, if you cast your mind back to the premiere of the Xbox One and the PS4 and, it's like Destiny's announcement, at that time all anybody really knew was that it was some sort of online first-person shootery sort of game that was being put out by Bungie. But nobody really knew what the game was. So at that time, most people had like a fairly reasonable objective distance to the game and what they thought of it, because nobody really wanted to make any quick snap judgment calls without knowing what the game was about. Then eventually, over the course of E3 this year, and then later on in August, there was an alpha and then there was a beta, and that's when the hype train really got rolling, because once people actually sat down and played with the game, they got excited and word of mouth spread. So rather than this being like a gigantic, ridiculous marketing campaign on the part of Activision, it was sheer word of mouth from people playing the alpha and the beta that said, guys, you got to try out this game. It's like this could turn out to be something special. So it was actually the players that built up the hype for the game rather than the marketing and the software publisher. But now the game is out, people have played it. The critics themselves are, it's like obviously on the fence with like, this huge array of review scores. It's like everything from 6s to 9s. It's like, Metacritic is obviously all over the place, as you can tell from like a 76 average. And the general consensus is the game is, it's like not perfect by any means, and some people are really slamming it for that. Other people are taking more of a let's wait and see attitude. Sales-wise, though, the game is an unequivocal success. It's like everybody went out and they bought it. It's currently raked in like $325 million at the time of this video, which is just an insane amount for any game. So it's well on its way to making money, but there's still this weird reception. It's like the critics don't like it. Some gamers do, some gamers don't, but everybody is buying it and everybody is playing it. So what exactly is going on here? Near as I can tell, what's happening is there's some blowback from the alpha and the beta. I mean, it's like the players that are disappointed with it, what happened was because they saw the Bungie name and they associated that with Halo, they played through the alpha and the beta and they saw some stuff in there, but there was this assumption on their part that whatever they were seeing in the alpha and beta was preliminary stuff, and as the game developed, once they got later into it, it would probably be more like Halo. But actually what's ended up happening is, if you've played the alpha and the beta and you actually play Destiny, what you realize is Destiny is exactly like the alpha and the beta. There's just even more content along those same lines. It did not suddenly morph into Halo at the halfway point. What the alpha and the beta showed you is exactly what the game turned into. So there are some people who are actually upset about that. You can't actually call it false advertising because that's what the game was, but there were certain expectations that were not met. But there's another contingent, and these are the guys, especially from the Diablo crowd, that are like, used to loot-based games. They came into Destiny, they started playing it, and they're like, all right, I see what's going on here, and I've made peace with that fact, I'm okay with it, and those people are still playing the game. And in fact, there are a lot of those people who are playing the game. And then there's the PvP contingent who they just got in and they were like, okay, so this pretty much plays like the competitive multiplayer from Halo, and that's all I really want. And those guys aren't even touching the rest of the game. It's like with Call of Duty and like with Halo, they just jumped into PvP and they ignored the rest of it. So what we've got happening right now is this really interesting case of mixed messages, where the game is obviously a massive hit. Bungie is going to be making a lot of money. Activision is going to be making a lot of money. Some portion of the audience is satisfied, the PvP and the loot guys, but a lot of the people, the ones that were hoping for something that was Halo under another name, those are the ones that seem to be massively, massively disappointed with the game. I think that a lot of the people who are giving the low review scores also fall into a similar camp, because it is essentially a multiplayer game, it is a loot game, and these are the kinds of games that don't really reveal themselves until several weeks into playing. It's almost like an MMO that way, and it's extremely difficult to make an informed judgment on an MMO just based on 1 week of play. Destiny is like that. So I'm not sure whether Destiny is now forever condemned to a mediocre reception amongst the journalists and the gamers, or whether or not, given a few months and some tweaks and expansions, it's going to be like Final Fantasy XIV, where a few months, well actually a year after its initial disastrous launch, when it relaunched the second time, people were like, guys, this game is amazing, it's worth playing. Is that going to happen with Destiny? I don't know. Could that happen with Destiny? I think that's certainly possible, because the foundation that they've got is there. It's just now a matter of whether the critics and the audience are going to give it a chance, or whether the fact that there were expectations of Halo have pretty much killed any of its chances of redeeming itself. So, Bungie, I don't know if you're watching this, but I like the fact that you were trying something different. I just hope that eventually the audience forgives you for doing just that. See ya.